So I wanted to talk about how Punkworks was kind of a pivotal, informative event in my life, and how it relates to the grid life, hashtag grid life situation that is happening right now, which you guys can read about or watch about, in the hashtag meltdown life video. I mean, you guys know the story of Punkworks, right? Punkworks was basically started because I was given Bill Gardner and Sean Scott shit on PB Nation about smart parts. This is during like peak smart parts, right? This is like 2006 or something, 2005. Peak smart parts when they owned all the pro teams. Everybody was shooting shockers. The Ion had just been released and was a huge gun that like people were trading like 3 or 4 Ions for Intimidators. It was insane. The Ion was revolutionary, I have to say. And this is like peak of smart parts, and I was giving them shit online, and they ended up wanting to kind of intimidate me, right? And so bring me out in person, like get me out of the keyboard warrior. And so I showed up. They invited me to the first Living Legends to play on their dime, and I did play on their dime. And to Bill Gardner's face, I told him over a beer. I told him he's fucking wrong, right? Like over and over again. And that's what started Punkworks, was this irreverent attitude and this like real attitude about that kind of like reality matters. Like power structures are what they are, and like ego and perception and reputation are what they are, but that like fundamentally the real world is more important. And so that was how Punkworks started, and that's the kind of attitude that we took throughout the whole endeavor. Was, hey, we would have companies having meltdowns. We would have companies try to sue us. I know Guerrilla Air threatened lawsuits against us, and so did Jack Rice, and I'm pretty sure Hammerhead did. Like, lots of people were real unhappy about the kind of stuff that we were doing. But, we just more interested in the real world and what actually happens. And, so we would do tests, and we would, like, see what happened. And some people really liked that, and even some companies really liked that, and we would like to work with them. Because it was interesting. We got a lot of advice, right? Like, why are you pissing off these companies? Like, especially like somebody like Smart Parts and things like that. Like, what if you want to get sponsored by them later or something like that? And it's like, it's just ridiculous, right? Like, why would I be interested in working with an organization or a business or something like that that can't get basic facts straight? I'm not really interested in that. Or there was, forums that would ban us or whatever. Like, oh my God, your fame must be over because you got banned off this forum. Like, no, we're still doing our thing. Like, people still loved us, and it was like that, right? And we just always took the attitude of like, hey, if you want to threaten legal action against us, we told you how we did all this. We have video of it. We have video of all those tests. Like, we told you how we were doing it and what we were going to do, and we did it. So, like, what are the legal actions that can be taken here, right? Like, what are we going to do? Just do the test for a court? Like, this is what happens when you do this. And so, that was kind of the attitude that we had, was like, what here... like, what actually matters here is the real world, and I don't care that you're a big company or that you're an important person in some other aspect of your life. And so a lot of people got real unprofessional. We would have meltdowns from moderators and meltdowns from staff, all the way from owners of these companies like Bill Gardner, all the way down to people like Rebecca Gamble. She was like a secretary for Smart Parts, and she got drunk one night at a Living Legends and tried to tell me off pretty hard. That was pretty funny. There was, throughout the whole thing, there's just this level of meltdown that had occurred, and the meltdown comes because these, 30 to 50-year-old guys who are in charge of big businesses and think they have power structures that support them, suddenly don't feel very powerful when reality, like, disagrees with what they said, think, or do. And so when someone points that out to them, it's that's when the meltdown occurs. And so it's kind of a similar situation here, where where the twist happened was when the Grid Life officials, both of them, literally told me, "We're not going to watch your video because we have no interest in it. We're going to accuse you of this anyway, but we don't really care about what actually happened on the racetrack," right? Because that's what they're saying there, is like, because I uploaded literally all of it, and you can see in my rearview mirror, you can see everything behind me, everything off to my right, and you can see in the other mirror everything off to my left. So I have a 360-degree view of the car, recorded in video for every minute I spent racing at Grid Life. And they have no interest in watching that and determining what happened. They're just gonna go on forum reputation alone, right? They're just gonna go on, you're a troublemaker, we can bury you because we're bigger than you. But like, reality actually matters, and it's one of those situations of like, why would I want to race with a series that doesn't seem to care what actually happened on the racetrack when determining fault? Reputation is a useful thing, don't get me wrong, but it also has to be based on reality, right? Like, if you have a reputation for something that, like, you never do, then it's not a very useful reputation, right? So, it's interesting how my experience in Punkworks has informed my later adult life, and watching supposedly powerful people have meltdowns, being unprofessional and attacking people and things like that, and not being interested in the data or the video or the objective reality of the situation, and like how commonplace that truly is. I had thought at least a little bit that paintball is an industry that's fueled by 16-year-olds, with their daddy's money. And so, I thought the level of professionalism in that situation would be, was governed by, essentially the level of professionalism of what a 16-year-old can tolerate. What's really interesting is, I guess, the level of professionalism that race car drivers tolerate is just as low, because it's absurd, right? What was said and done in this case. And the professionalism thing goes kind of both ways, because, right, people are like, "Oh man, well, Gordon, you don't act very professional." It's like, yeah, just because I'm just a dude, right? Like, I don't represent some company. I don't work for Grid Life. I don't have some LLC over my back, making sure that, like, I'm legally protected. I can just say whatever I want to because I'm just a dude. And you can judge me thusly. You can judge the accuracy of what I say on the facts that I present with. And so, yeah. Anyway, it's pretty interesting how 30 to 50-year-old men having meltdowns from positions of power, acting like children, basically, is a fairly common trend in my life and in the hobbies that I take up. And I think that meltdown, like I said before, just comes from that power structure being kind of upended by the reality of a situation. And at a certain point, the reality does matter. I know we believe we live in a facts-free world and like a post-factual world, but really all that means is that there's just less people that I care about reality, and that just means there's less people. It doesn't change that metric, right? It doesn't change the fact that reality still matters. Just because less people believe reality matters doesn't mean it matters any less. It just means there's more people that are gonna act insane. And so that's what that is. Punkworks every day it seems like the lessons of Punkworks ring true, and every day it's kind of fascinating to watch it play out. So the grid life thing, I mean, what am I gonna do, right? The video's up for everybody to see, and the people who are interested in finding out if I drove clean can watch it, and they'll find out I drove clean. And the people that aren't interested in facts and want to deal with reputation or ego or power structures, or, you know, yeah, like submitting to power structures, deference, basically, right? You know, those people will do what they're going to do, and it's not going to matter anyway, right? So it's very curious to me how this all plays out, and how informative that experience as a Punkworks type of guy was. So anyway, that's my stream of consciousness on that. So you guys have a good one. Talk to you later.